Hey, what is up, guys? Protobro here, infamous brother to Mega Bro, and we're going to be playing some Gemfire, going back in the day. I don't even know when this game was released. It might have been like 1994 or something like that. Anyways, I'm going to let you watch the intro here for the game. I actually probably haven't watched it in like 15 years, so I don't know what it's going to say either. But then what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a quick rundown on how the game runs. We're going to play the first scenario, and then I'll probably do a second playthrough on the back end, basically the fourth scenario, with a little bit more challenge. But I will let you watch this, and then I'll chime back in after it's over. Alright, thanks. Gotta love the music. Break it down! So, Pluvius is the wizard for Lyle, as you can see. Just so for those of you who don't know Gemfire, every family, well, I don't say every family, most families, have a gem from which a wizard or monster is projected. And it's a pretty significant thing for the family to have. It drastically influences battles, but you can only use them once every 3 or 4 turns. It's like Skull Rock's another one. That's who we're gonna play as. Crest of Coral, Prince Lars, who has Emperor. He's alright. I'd say he's like middle of the pack in terms of his capabilities. They don't make music like this anymore. Doesn't that guy look like a little gnome? I don't know if I'd follow a guy who looks like a gnome. This is the king. He has the dragon, which is a pretty badass beast. It's definitely tough to take down. Yeah, you know those guys are pissing themselves right now. Aren't the graphics amazing? Yay! Guy's such a pussy. Can't even do it himself. He needs a dragon to do his work for him. Fear me! Before we get started, I want to just give you guys a quick run through on how Gemfire works. As you see here, there are 4 scenarios, each of which different players you can play as, different terrain, different number of provinces, so forth. We're going to actually play on Aaron and Ander for the first scenario. I'm going to play as Lars, who's that 25-26 down there at the bottom left. And then I'm going to play a second game, probably on the Gemfire scenario, just so you can kind of see a pretty drastically different layout. But in this scenario, as you see, the king, who's the crowns there, he's the most powerful. Not only does he have the most territories, but he also has the most powerful gem, which is that dragon, which I'll kind of give you guys a run through here. 6 noble families have undertaken the task to overthrow King Ezreal and secure Gemfire. Aaron of Blanche and Ander of Lyle are the main contenders, yet only one family is destined to unite the crown. Alright. So one player. Gonna go down. Coral. So Lars. Empyrean. With the magic of the crystal, I will save Prince Lars. So this is one of the, he's the gem that you'll be playing as. He's decent. He's kind of, I think, middle of the pack. He can only move 2 spaces and can only hit immediately adjoining to him, so he doesn't have, like, he doesn't have ranged attack, but he has decent health and does decent damage. Then Eustace, who's one of your vassals, says Empyrean has joined us, but our future is still uncertain. And then Everin, who's your other vassal, says we are in great danger of the dragon and the volcano. Alright, here you get these different advisors. They basically give you advice depending on their personalities here. He's kind of a little more serious. I think he's kind of like, he wants you to be more aggressive. He's just an idiot. And she tends to give you supposedly more enlightened advice, or whatever the hell that means. So I like going with the Jasper. Alright, so what I want to show you here is just basically the layout of the game before we actually get going. So you have some understanding of kind of how the game operates. Okay, so here we are, Coral Isle. So here's your options, right? You got basically 4 main windows. This first one here is your military window. When you go in here, you have your attack, which is self-explanatory. You can only attack adjacent provinces. Recruit, so basically when you do recruit, it basically says based on your coins. So we have 168 coins. With that, we can recruit up to 84 troops. So in other words, for every 1 troop you recruit, it is 2 gold. And you can basically go through here. Military movement, that'll cost you a turn. Basically all of these cost you a turn, including hiring monster. But you can move troops, which will also allow you to move gold and bread. And then hiring monsters. So one of the other aspects associated with the game that I haven't talked to you about yet is that in addition to your gem, you also have monsters that you hire, basically, right? So depending on the province you're in may dictate the available monsters. Also, the fame of the ruler may attract more powerful monsters. Here we can hire gargoyles, which cost us 40. You don't know how many of them are, but as you kind of play the game, you kind of figure out who's what's powerful. They're actually pretty good. They fly, so they can go over barriers like walls and that sort of thing. Lizards, which these guys, they can't go over walls, and I think they only move 2 movements per, but they're really powerful. The 60 gold is actually the most expensive for a monster. So that's, you know, they're pretty good. And then Lancers, who are also very good. So, my experience has been with, like, the Lancers and the human-like monsters. They tend to desert you pretty frequently, so you'll hire them, like, the next month or a couple months after they desert you. So usually my play style is, I don't hire a whole lot of monsters until I feel like it's absolutely necessary, because I'm always suspecting they're either going to rampage my land, causing damage to my land, or ditch me. So that's the first window. Second window is really like your land developing. So here you can develop your landscape. You see there the corn-looking stockings. That's basically your crop that'll dictate how much bread you get. I think it's September. And then your protection, which basically indicates if you're hit by plague or earthquake or whatever different natural disasters the game has. The higher your protection, the less damage you'll take when you get hit by it. Trade, so there's really only 2 options on trade. You can sell, buy. This is your selling or you're buying your bread. And the prices are low, average, high. So again, self-explanatory in terms of what to do there. Giving food, so the higher that flag icon there is, right now it's 49. The higher that loyalty, the more gold you actually get basically I think it's January is when, it's January or September when you get the gold. I think it also impacts the amount of food, the amount of bread that you get. I don't know. I usually just try and keep mine as high as possible because 1, it dictates the gold that you get, but also 2, it helps attract monsters. There's a monster called Patha. She's like this water-breathing dragon, I guess you'd say, and a very powerful character to get. She'll come to you if you have very high flag and reputation. And then also you have like positive events happen in your land when you have really high loyalty from your people. And then transport. The cool thing with the game in this and transport, you can pretty much move stuff anywhere on the map. It doesn't have to be immediately adjacent to you. So, for example, if I had a territory at 19 and I was here at 25, I could ship stuff to 19, and there's not going to be any bad effects from that. Then you got the ally portion here, so self-explanatory. You can basically ally yourself or break an alliance with another family. I don't use this very often, but it's definitely an option that's available. Negotiate, so you can actually convince vassals to join your side, which can be very helpful if you have a high reputation and they have a lot of soldiers. Or surrender, so you can actually have a family surrender to you. So like, for example, Flax here to my right with the 2 properties, I could ask him to surrender. If he was weak enough and I had a high enough reputation, maybe he would accept it. Sabotage, self-explanatory, you can damage people's property. Or plunder, which you would go and you'd basically steal gold and food from your neighbor. View command, the reason I really like the view command in this game is that it does not take a turn to look at your enemies. So that's pretty cool. And you can just view yourself, your enemy, which we'll do in a second. Change lord, so for example here I have, using the view command, I have Irvin running province 26. If I didn't want him doing that any longer, then I would go to change lord, and then I would either put myself in charge, another lord who basically has a province already in my area, which we don't because there's just 2 of us, or a vassal, so I can put Eustace in charge instead. Then the next icon is entrust. That's basically it's auto, right? So if I said Irvin, I'm going to entrust you to run the province. That means every month I wouldn't have to tell Irvin what to do. He would just kind of do his own thing. So, and then search. You know, I've never quite understood what search does. I probably should know that. I don't. I play this game boatload and I don't know what it does. So whatever. Anyways, all right. So let's look at the landscape, right? So for example, let's check ourselves out. You can look at your provinces other using one. So just look at just Irvin here. 58 management skill, 65 combat, 78 diplomacy. Lars, who basically when you have a ruler, they're the only one that's going to get that 4th stat, which is that prestige or reputation stat. Here it'll tell you what gems you currently have. So right now we just have an Imperin, but as you conquer other families who have gems, you can basically build up that repertoire. I can tell you, this game completely revolves around the gems. If you don't have a gem, it's going to be a very steep uphill battle to kind of expand your territory. Additionally, if you're going up against somebody who has 2 or 3 gems, more of attrition, they're probably going to win. The gems in this game, the wizards and the monsters that come from these gems are very powerful, and usually it takes a pretty significant sized force to take them out, as you'll see. And then we got Eustace here, 62, 57, 53. So those guys aren't very good. He's okay with the diplomacy, so when he would give food to his people, that'd be pretty beneficial, but other than that, he's not that impressive. So really, my ruler's the only one that's got decent stats. These stats do go up, by the way, as you do things. So as you give food, as you manage provinces, as you engage in combat, these skills go up, which is pretty cool. Alright, so let's look at the landscape of the territories here. So for example, here's Prince Eric. So there's what he's got. So he's also got 3 people underneath him. He's got Jairus and Isak. Again, neither of which are too impressive. But they have a gem. And how do we know what kind of gem they have? Oops, that's right, I can't look at it, I don't think I can. I just know what it is. She basically chops people in half. Here's the king, King Ezreal, who has a boatload of people working for him. 16 people in his family. And let's go look at the king. I think he's here at 22. There he is. So he's got the crown, and the crown is the dragon, which is very, very powerful. Really, the only other gem that kind of compares to it is what we'll go up here and talk to him in a second. This guy right here, Lyle. He's got probably the second most powerful gem. Really, the only one that can go toe to toe with the dragon. So I find when I'm engaged in combat, I find a way to kind of gang up on the other side's the gem. But here's Ander. Pretty decent stats, right? And his help. notice up there with Lord Wolfen, up top right there's a little squiggly thing. He's a family member. So if something happens to, say, Anders, say he dies or something like that, his next kin will basically take over. And then if a family member dies without anyone else in the family, then you're done. The properties disappear, they become vacant. So it's very important to at least have one family member. Me, I don't think I have any family, to be honest with you. No, I don't have any family. So I think if I die, that's the end of the game. So, here's Mulbrew, family of Mulbrew. He's also got a gem. He's got a Skullrock, who has range damage and also can move 3 spaces. Probably the weakest of the gems, but he's also got ranged attack, so if he's used properly, he can actually be pretty effective. We've got Prince Garth, who's also got a gem. I think it's Skyla. No, that's one I have. I forget the name of her. But she's okay. She's not that great, but she's decent. The advantage that he has is he's kind of in this pocket right here, right? So he can kind of really build up and then until he decides to move into 7. And then Blanche. So this is House Blanche. So he's also got a gem. He's got maybe the 3rd best, I'd say, out of everybody. There's Roland. Carl, who's a family member. Pender, who's a family member. And finally, another family member. So there you go, kind of in a nutshell, it's Gemfire. This is the first, obviously the first scenario, but you've got these 2 families up here, you got Garth here, you got Mulbrew here, me with Lars, right, Flax, and then the King. As you can see with us starting down here, we're very much boxed in. But if we can take out Flax, then we'll suddenly have a huge advantage in terms of number of gems. We'll have actually 2. And then we can also hire monsters and so forth to supplement that. But that's really just kind of a basic rundown Gemfire. As we play through, I'll obviously explain some other stuff. But I really love this game. It's very simplistic in its kind of format and how it plays. But it's also dynamic enough where, it's one of those games you can actually go back to, 15, 20 years later, and still be entertained. I haven't played this game in probably like 15 years. And I know I'm going to have a lot of fun playing it. So let's get started.